Thanks for joining. I know that some of you are in the midst of trying to open a fitness facility. Some of you are still trying to plan how to open a fitness facility. Thought we'd give just a brief introduction of who's going to be speaking today. I'm the managing director of CFE Services. We provide hygiene products throughout the fitness space. We are an associate member of NERSA, and the products that we have selected are ones that we've had associations with prior to COVID-19, but heightened interest, obviously, since COVID-19 hit. We are an authorized distributor for EvaClean, and probably the number one thing that we have had asked of us as a distributor is, what can I use that is safe for my facility? What is safe for my staff to use? What is safe for the equipment? And so we're very honored to be a distributor for EvaClean because they were able to check all three of those boxes. So on the Zoom meeting today is Flavia Benson. She's Senior Vice President of Operations for EvaClean. I've known Flavia for about 2 years, and I would say she would always pick up her phone. COVID-19 hit, and she had to put on the "I will get back to you just as soon as I can" mode. We also have Mike English, who's the Director of West Coast Sales for EvaClean and Earth Safe Chemical Solutions. So I thought it would be nice to give a little video view. This was made prior to COVID-19, back in 2019, and the focus of why it would make sense to sanitize your facility.
I had a horrifying experience at the gym. I was doing arm curls one day. Within a few hours, my arm is completely swelled up and it started to get worse. I went into the emergency room. Turns out it was MRSA. My feeling from being at the gym was that the machinery that I was using was improperly sanitized.
I hear from a lot of customers that they're concerned that the machines aren't being wiped down, that someone had a cold prior and they're nervous about getting germs.
I want to make sure I stay healthy. I go to the gym to be healthy, not to get sick.
You want the gym to look neat and clean and whatnot, but to actually disinfect and get rid of bacteria and viruses that in the past has been so cost prohibitive.
The battery-powered Protexus electrostatic sprayer and its custom-designed pump system atomizes the PureTab's disinfecting or sanitizing solution. The droplets pass an electrode inside the nozzle, creating a magnetic charged spray that seeks out and wraps around all touch points and grounded room surfaces.
As a gym owner, knowing that it's actually being cleaned, we can pretty much disinfect the whole entire gym within an hour, which is great. I'm not mechanically inclined by any means, but it's literally unlocking the trigger and spraying. This really wraps around the whole piece of equipment. So it's amazing.
You're getting all of the little places that you normally wouldn't be able to get with a regular sprayer. You're getting all those nooks and crannies, all the little crevices.
We can just go in there, spray it down, spin bikes, yoga mats, medicine balls, kettlebells, all the benches, the locker room, the sauna and steam room. This will not only disinfect and inhibit the mold, but it'll also inhibit the smell.
I think what's really needed is for gyms to be able to say, hey, we got clean equipment, we got clean locker rooms, clean showers, and it's not going to be a problem for you here. I would say you have to use this product. I would go to your gym. It's cleaner, it's healthier, it's just a better option.
Getting MRSA, I was completely surprised. I had just started working for Earth Safe when this happened to me, and it couldn't have happened at a most opportune moment in a way, because it really showed me how important it is to have some sort of preventive protocol for infection anywhere, but more particularly for me at the gym. Because of my personal experience going out and talking to people, I'm not just a salesperson. I can tell them this is something that happened to me. This is something that I truly believe in. I know what can be done and how we can do better.
All right. Well, without further ado, I'd like to turn the screen share and the presentation over to Flavia Benson. Thank you for joining us, Flavia.
First of all, thank you for the nice plug with my video. And if you guys are asking, it is a true story. I did get MRSA at the gym. And it was actually right when I started working for Earth Safe. So it was a really interesting time to not only learn about, you know, how you can get infected from surfaces, but how you can effectively also prevent it. Chad, thank you for this. You guys have been a great partner for the past 2 years. Mike and I are super excited to continue to work with you guys. But now that we're in this midst of COVID-19, it's incredible that we have so much that we can offer, particularly for gyms and the gym environment where people are really afraid to go back. They're not quite sure how things are going to, turn out for them. So this is a really incredible opportunity for us to give you information and give you tools so that you can safely reopen and make sure that those members feel safe when they're going in and starting to work out again. So I really want to talk really quickly about the company and how long I've been with the company. I started with EarthSafe about 4.5 years ago, and it was a really transition for me from having worked as a private practice attorney in the financial and banking markets, completely different sector. And when I came in to meet with the people from EarthSafe, in particular, our co-founder, I really fell in love with the mission of the company and what it was that we were trying to do for public health and being preventive. It was just, for me, it was just a light switch went on, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, or at least for the rest of, meaningful career. And now here we are, fast forward 2020, COVID-19, our company mission couldn't be more important now than it was when the day that we, started introducing our products. And this is really where I want you guys to, and actually just switch this slideshow really quick, hold on, to understand the importance of what it is that we do on a daily basis when we do talk about infection prevention. So the company mission is really to design a future where technology empowers, but not replaces those people that are tasked with a critical role of protecting our public health. Time after time, throughout our presentations and throughout our engagement with our partners, we constantly talk about the people that are doing the cleaning. We call them our front line of defense and infection prevention. And typically housekeepers and cleaners, they are not getting the kudos that they deserve for the job that they are doing in protecting you and me and everybody else from infections that can, and pathogens that can reside on a surface. We want to empower people with tools, but we're never going to be able to replace them. They are still going to be the most important aspect of any type of infection prevention program. It's the people that are doing it. It's the people that are doing it on a daily basis. And it's the people that are interacting with those around them to ensure that those spaces are super healthy. And not just in gyms or these types of facilities, but everywhere. We're talking healthcare, education. This is really a problem where we need to address it completely, all facets. So when we were starting our EvaClean program, we were really looking at three key things. We worked hand in hand with a lot of different cleaning staff, housekeepers in all different industries. And what we learned primarily is that limited resources require more resourcefulness. And this is really the tagline of what we call the EvaClean program. How can we make things easier when you don't have all of the allocated items that you need to be more productive and more compliant? So the three obstacles that we see, or that we saw, and they still exist, obviously, time. There's always a limited time allocated to clean and disinfect space. Workers simply cannot reach all the areas necessary to improve their results. So when you think about a gym environment with dumbbells and classes and mats and all of these different things, you actually have to physically touch everything to properly disinfect something. And this is where you simply don't have the time to do that. Not as you're rushing in between, classes, or rushing in between members going into another piece of equipment. Budget, money. No one is opening up their wallets to, throw some money more into cleaning budgets. On the contrary, staff is constantly expected to do a lot more, but without adding headcount. So this is where you're really kind of tied not only with a lack of time, but also a lack of people. And finally, it's how you're using your disinfectants and sanitizers. How are you simplifying that process? What you've probably noticed in facilities or your gyms or even your own home, I was very guilty of this. I would open my kitchen cabinet and I might have 5 different disinfectants on there, and they were all different application methods, different dwell times. different procedures. Some require you to wipe and rinse. Some don't require you to do that. Some require you to have it wet for 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is that you need to do. And this is where this type of too many products in one place really leads to a lack of simplification, and then therefore a lack of compliance. And that's where we really wanted to move the needle in terms of how can we make these problems that we have, these obstacles, so that at the end of the day your cleaning program really is effective and really has measurable results. So this is really the key of the EvaClean system. It's compliance. EvaClean delivers these results through standardization of processes around the minimum amount of chemicals and equipment necessary to achieve the highest level of efficacy in both containing and preventing infectious outbreaks. So our belief, and this is what we've seen throughout every single industry that we have designed protocols for, is that increased compliance around simple and easy to understand protocols is what leads to the maximum output and results. So what exactly is the EvaClean program? And I'm trying to move here there we go. Let's see if that works. Perfect. So what exactly is the EvaClean program? We are a complete infection prevention, standardized and scalable program. If you look on your screen right now, you'll see that we not only offer products, but also processes. This is really something that has to be done together. Products are great. You can have any type of cleaning products out there, surface disinfection. You can use, our really cool looking sprayers for electrostatics application. But all of that mean absolutely nothing if you don't have processes in place that are standardized, that are simplified, that are efficient, but most importantly, that are safe. And by safety, we're talking not only about the products that we're using as we are applying them, but also the safety of the people that are doing the application and the passive exposure of those that are surrounded by those products. So those are really important key factors that we need to ensure that we are checking all those boxes when we do put these programs in place. Right here on the screen, you're also seeing our suite of products. Pure One is our cleaner disinfectant product. It can be used with regular spray bottles, charge buckets with microfiber cloths. It can be used with dry wipe systems. It is it's an 80cc chemistry, just like our Pure Tabs. And I think most of you have been familiar with our Pure Tabs and electrostatic sprayers. They both are the exact same chemistry. The only difference is that one is not to be used with the sprayers, and I'll go into that detail in just a sec. But if you look in the middle of this slide, you're going to see that we have all of these boxes that we need, all these check marks, and all these boxes that we need to ensure that we have done and checked off, so that we are able to provide you with a really standard system that fits within all of the regulatory compliance guidelines, NIOSH and OSHA compliance, chemical equivalency data, air quality testing, which is super important as you're spraying, different chemistries out in the open. You want to ensure that this is actually safe. And finally, really making sure that we're reducing or completely eliminating any type of chemical mixing hazards. So when we look at programs and how you can effectively put EvaClean under your umbrella, we want to ensure that everything that you're using within your suite of products mixes well together, and they're not going to have any type of interaction that could be unsafe or hazardous. And this is really important for us to understand the uses that you have. And one of the reasons why we brought in our Pure One product was exactly for that. So you had a single chemistry solution for both cleaning and disinfection, but also for disinfection fully with our electrostatic sprayers. And this is just a really quick overview, and it's the last slide that I'm going to put out there before we open for questions and the round table. But the EvaClean process, again, it's an umbrella of really having infection prevention. So with the Pure One product, we're using an 80cc, again, which is a tablet concentrate. Both of these products have a neutral pH. They are a chlorine compound, but unlike a hypochlorite or a bleach, they are not caustic or corrosive to materials. Both at their highest strength are sporicidals. That means they kill C. diff in 4 minutes. They kill COVID-19 in 1 minute. And both of our products have an EPA emerging pathogen claim for COVID-19 or for yet any unknown emerging pathogens that may come our way. And we're all, they're both NK and G list approved with the EPA. Those are really important distinctions in terms of disinfectants that are out there, because not only are we super broad spectrum, but we do have the claims when something new comes out there where you haven't done the testing, but you know that you already kill, X, Y, and Z, and some of the hardest pathogens out there. Therefore, we know that we can kill, COVID-19, which is essentially much easier to kill than a norovirus virus would be on a surface. So those are the things that we have, going for us in terms of both products, both tablets. Now on the cleaning end, and I'm again briefly talking about Pure One on this one, the only difference between the two is Pure One is your cleaner disinfectant. It has a surfactant base to it, a soap component, and it has a biofilm registration. It's the first product with a registered kill claim to kill bacteria present in biofilm. And this is really important, especially in healthcare, when you can have all of these different bacteria, creating the biofilm, with a protective shield over them. And the problem with biofilm is that most disinfectants aren't able to pierce through that protective layer. And once these bacteria are together in what I call their little city and their little network, they become multi-drug resistant. And this is where it's really important to be able to kill them or remove them from their surface so that they don't get into our bodies, because that's when we really have a hard time killing them. So that's our step one when we do use our Pure One product. Now, enhanced terminal, and I hear I'm using the terms that we have for healthcare. Terminal room cleaning is typically what we use in healthcare. And the reason why I'm pointing this out, and I added the slide, this slide in particular, is because we've done all of our testing and all of our protocols in terms of compliance and regulatory guidelines based on the most regulated industries, which is healthcare, both in acute care and non-acute care. And this is where electrostatic disinfection for, room surfaces has been really implemented and embraced, because it is touchless. When you think about being able to go across the room and not having the issues of cross-contamination with whether you're using, microfiber cloths or if you're using even disposable wipes, if you're not using the right amount of wipes for that large area or whatever the area is, you're probably cross-contaminating because you're just kind of moving germs and pathogens around. So this is where touchless electrostatic disinfection is really key in large areas, in sensitive areas, so that you are able to really reach all of those areas that are touched, sneezed on, sweated on, and very effectively get disinfection done without adding any additional cost or time. And this is really the key of electrostatics. I'm going to go ahead and end there with the slides. I want to make sure that we can start getting some questions on. And Chad, please, please chime in if you want me to add anything additional in regards to the program. And Mike English, you as well.
Thank you very much, Flavia. Very much. I appreciate it. We do have a list of kind of curated questions that we're going to leave the microphone open for Flavia and for Mike to kind of field these questions. And then as ones arise, if you'd like, just put it into the chat mode and we'll go from there. So Trevor, do you have Mike and Flavia unmuted?
Yes, I do.
I just got unmuted.
Oh, perfect. Well, the first one's been answered. It's pretty straightforward. Does Pure Tabs and Pure One kill COVID-19?
Yes, it does.
That's an easy one. I even had some details in here. There are a couple of ways to handle that, depending on the amount of chemical that you want to dispense. 4,306 parts per micron for 1 minute or 1,076 for 10 minutes. The best choice depends on how often you'll be spraying. Some concern with the 4,306 if it's used every 2 hours. So really up for your facility to kind of dictate.
Chad, that's a really good point that you made right there in terms of the concentration. So I want to really be clear about a couple of things, because we're working with what is in our master label. So when I talked about that EPA emerging pathogen claim, when a new pathogen comes out and no one knows exactly, what it is in terms of, well, they know what it is. They know it's an enveloped virus. But we haven't done testing for it yet to submit to the EPA because it just came out. So when you are submitting information to the EPA to add that onto your label, it can take up to 8 months. So that's why it's really important to have the emerging pathogen claim, so you can say, okay, we kill this, so therefore we kill that. And under that emerging pathogen, right now, the EPA has it as a 1 minute kill claim for 4306 concentration, which, by the way, is super strong. That's our sporicidal concentration. It's not the concentration we want you to use in your facilities. We'd rather you use something lower at a 1076 because you're still going to get the kill claim for that. The 4306 concentration is typically what we use in healthcare environments. And because, again, we're dealing with C. diff and it's a sporicidal at that concentration, it's not something that you're really looking in your facility. We're really only looking at COVID-19. So we would recommend a little bit of a lower concentration.
Terrific. And I would echo that in meeting with engineers from fitness equipment manufacturers such as Precor, and it's safe to say it would be applicable across pretty much every manufacturer. They have vetted out that not only is it safe for the equipment, that they don't feel it's going to be caustic to the electronics as well. All right, another question. How is it dispensed, and is it safe for users to be around while dispensing it?
That's a great question. So the way it's dispensed, you're essentially, if you're using, I'm just going to use as an example the handheld. You're filling with your tank with just regular tap water. It's a 32-ounce container. You're picking your 3.3 gram tablet. That's it right there on the screen, and you're just putting it into your tank. As soon as it's diluted, you can go ahead and put that sprayer tank back into the sprayer, and then you're ready to press the trigger and go. It's that easy. The way that it's sprayed out, or the plumes come out of the sprayer, we have a 60 micron nozzle setting. So that means that those droplets, they're not very fine. They're not tiny like a mister or a fogger would be. They're a little bit more coarse, so that you're not getting anything aerolizing in the air. Those droplets are going right to the surface where they need to go. And if you're unfamiliar with electrostatics, really quick, what we're doing is putting a positive charge onto the pure tabs that we're spraying. So when you have that positive charge and most materials around us are negative, what you're doing is creating a magnetic attraction. So the cool thing there is that when those droplets come out, instead of pooling over each other as you would see with a regular hand pump trigger sprayer, they're looking to find the next available spot to land on. And what you get there is a 360 wraparound coverage. But most importantly, you get a really uniform droplet coverage on the surface. So you're getting your dwell times, which is super important. If the surface is not wet for the amount of time it needs to stay wet, you're not going to be killing any pathogen on that surface. So that's one of the key things of using technology to ensure that those disinfectants are staying wet. Now, in terms of spraying around people, so we've done all of the third-party NIOSH and OSHA testing so that we can provide that information that it is safe to apply even at the highest concentration around people, even if there were someone in a room. With that said, it's not something that we want to recommend you to just walk around and just spray haphazardly. Have a as we write these SOPs and protocols for different industries, have a set of frequency of when you're going to be doing this, whether it's at night or whether it's 3 times a day. Right now, I've been working a lot with hospitality for the past week because this is a new thing. Disinfection. Gyms have always had disinfectant wipes and things like that, but before COVID-19, you were relying on your members to do a lot of this, and maybe you had a cleaner at the end of the night who would come in and might maybe do the floors and windows and things like that. But no one was really targeting disinfection the way that now we need to, or the way that we're expected to do. So for example, in hospitality, where no one was disinfecting rooms after you checked out, or disinfecting lobbies, the goal is to have a frequency, tent cards, informational cards, or even videos that you can have around your gym that show what you're doing, but not necessarily constantly spraying around people. And the reason for that is not that it's unsafe. It's because you don't want people questioning what it is that you're applying or what you're doing. It's more of a just to make sure that everyone is on the same page and comfortable with what you're doing.
Great.
And we do have some experience with this in other public areas too. For example, TSA checkpoints. Again, as Flavia mentioned, it is safe, but people do become concerned. I do think there's going to be maybe a change in that thought process, whereas in the past, people maybe became alarmed if they saw you spraying, whereas going forward, maybe they'll become alarmed if they don't see you spraying. I think people's attitudes towards a lot of the stuff is going to change. But as Flavia mentioned before, if you want to spray during the day, I would do it at a relatively quiet time when there's a minimal count of exercisers in there, and just avoid people to the best of your abilities. But again, it's not harmful.
Terrific. Thank you. One other question. Do you need to use PPE while dispensing the product?
That's a really good question. So for use of our sprayers with our products, we do not require PPEs. We obviously, if you're going to use, gloves to take the tablets and dilute it and things like that. Now, you've probably seen tons of videos with our products right now, Delta, Marriott, and some other outfits that show everyone in a full PPE. The reason for that is not because of our product. It's because of people going into rooms that could be possibly contaminated. So the PPE is for their personal protection from infection or contamination, not from applying pure tabs.
Perfect. We've covered some of this, but where do you see it being used in a gym facility or spa?
Gosh, so aside from your typical areas, weights in particular, I think that's something that now people are really looking at and seeing, gosh, do these things ever get cleaned, or have they ever been disinfected before? Which is, again, it's one of those, we don't have time to do that. How do you touch every single dumbbell or barbell or anything like that? So definitely in the weight areas, for sure, any area where people are touching, if you got to think about the equipment, and I'm a gym goer. Well, not for right now, but as soon as my gym reopens, I can't wait to go back. We're touching everything, right? If you're on the treadmill, if you're anything, you're really touching a lot of different spots, and you don't realize that. And even if you're a good member who is grabbing those wipes, I'm one of those good members, and cleaning stuff off, you're going to miss something for sure. So the sprayer really allows you to get onto those areas, especially where your shoes are, things like that, because you're bringing stuff back to your house and back to your car. So a lot of these areas where we don't even clean where we put our feet in any of this type of equipment. Locker rooms are key because, again, we're taking stuff in, putting them into the lockers, taking stuff out. So having a frequency there on the locker is really important. And showers in the bathrooms are a great area, obviously, to do it too, but showers in particular, saunas and steam rooms, pure tabs is also an oxidizer, so it's gonna really keep those areas free from mildew and mold buildup. So if you use it on a daily frequency in those areas, you're gonna really eliminate some of those issues that you have in more in those types of environments.
Terrific. Mike, do you have anything to add? I noticed that one of the responses you sent, and which is probably what drew us to the product 2 years ago, is it was safe to use in the restaurant and cafe areas.
Yeah, now if you're spraying around the actual food equipment, like if we go into a school cafeteria, for example, there is a lower dilution rate that we would recommend for that. We have a smaller tablet, what we call a food service tablet. It's about 1/10 the size of the standard 3.3 gram. And we are NSF registered for food service. So National Sanitary Foundation, I think we're categorized as D2, which also means spray and walk away. So we are safe for that. We would never want to spray directly on food, but you're safe to spray all the food prep areas back in there. And then correct me if I'm wrong, Flavia, in the main cafeteria area with the tables and chairs and whatnot, you could actually disinfect in there.
Absolutely. That wouldn't be a problem at all. So, and if you don't know the difference between, sanitizing and disinfecting, so sanitizing is a 3-log reduction. where disinfection is a 6-log reduction. And the difference is really important because when you talk about food surface areas, if you do disinfect, which is a stronger concentration in food surface areas, then you got to rinse it off. Now with our sanitizer tablets, which is typical for the food industry, you don't really disinfect, you typically sanitize on a daily basis. That's what you see in most restaurants, cafeterias, and things like that. Now you can use, a sanitizer that is NSFD2 registered, and that's the classification for no rinse, no wipe after you apply it. So if you were to even apply silverware or anything else, cutlery, plates, you don't have to rinse or wipe after.
Very good, thank you. What's the dwell time? I know we've touched on this, but what's the dwell time for it to be effective?
So on the sanitizer, so if you're using our sanitizer tablet, it's 60 seconds. On the disinfectant side, so for the 1076 concentration, right now on our label, it's 10 minutes. I'm saying right now, guys, because with both Pure One and Pure Tabs, the EPA right now is redoing our label, so it's going to be, the new time is 4 minutes. Pure One is already done. We're just waiting on the Pure Tabs to come through. So you will see on our literature right now, it still says 10 minutes, but it is a 4-minute as soon as that comes out. And as soon as we get the label from the EPA, then all of our marketing materials will be completely switched out. So bear with us on that one.
Excellent. Do you wipe it off after it's been sprayed?
You do not. So it's you spray and you let it air dry.
Terrific. We noticed that your dispensers have an off switch for atomizing. Does it have to be dispensed via an electrostatic sprayer?
It does not. So you can turn that off and just use it as a coarse mechanical sprayer. And if you turn it on, then you're getting that charge.
Gotcha. Terrific.
And you can also, I think another part of the question might have been, you can use our Pure Tabs in traditional 32-ounce spray bottles. So we have a lot of folks that do that during the day, for example. So the exercisers can use that after they get off the treadmill, and then you can spray more thoroughly at the end of the day using the spray gun.
Great. So what is the difference between cleaning and sanitizing?
Another really good question. So these are the industry standards: cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting. So cleaning is actually the removal of visible soil on a surface. So for you to be able to properly disinfect something, you need to clean it. And what I'm talking about visible soil is if you have obviously, gross dirt or any type of dust or things like that, you still got to do those processes before you can disinfect. With that said, even if you miss a spot on cleaning, Pure Tabs work with a 5% soil load, so you're still going to be reducing those pathogens and getting that log reduction, even if there's something that you missed in terms of removing full visible soil.
Excellent. This was an interesting one, since a lot of facilities in HIIT workout areas have some kind of turf or carpet. Is it effective in those areas?
That's another good question. So one of the things that the EPA does not test for is disinfection of what is considered soft surfaces. So we don't have a disinfection claim for soft surfaces. Having said that, again, because we work so closely in healthcare, our sprayers are used for spraying down privacy curtains that, by the way, get touched by everybody, but only gets washed or laundered on a quarterly basis. You can imagine how many pathogens those things have. In nursing homes, for example, they're doing everything from lobbies to they have some nursing homes have a lot of theaters and all of these public areas that have upholstery. So it is highly used that way.
Excellent. So what other markets besides the fitness and university market have had success with Pure Tabs?
So healthcare for sure, that's been our bread and butter for quite some time. Education, daycares in particular, especially in gyms, by the way. When you guys saw the video of me at the gym there, they had a little daycare, and that's where I used to take my daughter. I have 3 kids, and that place was never disinfected. So when they, after the whole thing happened with MRSA, that was one of the things that they actually advertised to the parents. Hey, you're going to come to the gym, but we're also going to be, you know, when your kid's in the daycare, this is what we do to make sure that they're safe and you're safe and so on and so forth. That was a really big one. We do work with a number of daycare, you know, not just within gyms, but standalone. The new one for us has been really the hospitality industry, again, because of COVID-19. Even though we pitched to a number of hotels and in restaurants in the past, it was never something that disinfection was even considered necessary, because it was really hard for you to trace anything from these places. Now that's a different story, because now people, they would keep hush hush, you know, if they had an outbreak or something, they didn't want anyone to know that what they were doing for disinfection. Now they actually want to advertise that and say, hey, this is what we're doing, you know, come in, we're going to make sure we're going to keep you healthy. And that's what people are demanding. So I think the industry's changed a lot. Prevention is really the new norm, or will be the new norm. I think outbreak control is really going to be going away. If we take these measures to be preventative, we're really going to change the industry there.
Yeah, I agree. And it seems like from our view and visiting with clients all over the country, it's having a clear plan and communicating to your staff and to your guests or members what you're doing and not being afraid to do that. And it sets this level of comfort that folks want to have when they enter back into your facility.
Absolutely. That's the key word right there. It's the comfort level.
Here's a good one. Since we all tend to have electronics when we're in a gym, treadmills and all these kinds of things, is it safe to use on touchscreens and electronics?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. So again, going back to the healthcare, we spray in operating rooms, and you can imagine all of the medical devices and things that are in there, which is very expensive. So yes, you can absolutely spray. It's not going to harm anything. Now, with that said, I just want to point one thing out. One of the things that we do tend to do when we're starting to use the electrostatic sprayers, we tend to oversaturate. We might stay in a spot a little too long, so we get a little bit of pooling or you know, just a little oversaturation. When you do that, or if you're using too high of a concentration, yes, if you were using a 4306, which we wouldn't recommend for you guys, then you can get a little bit of residue. Or if you have a lot of hard water, you might get some spotting. That's a situation where you might need, after, you know, spraying, you might need to wipe it off just so you don't get any, so it doesn't look visually displeasing, but it wouldn't do any harm to your equipment.
Terrific. You know, one point we added to that is you can wipe off the display screens, like on treadmills or cardio pieces after, if you want, just to make sure you don't have any kind of film that might be left over there.
And that does build up over time. That is something that could become an issue over time. I don't know if you'd notice it right away, but like when we spray airport kiosks and things like that, yeah, every once in a while you do want to take like a damp cloth and just gently wipe that away. And the nice thing about it is you won't be removing the chemical in the process. The chemical will remain there and do its job for you.
Terrific. Well, the last two questions that we've got curated here, and then we'll take a look at the chat. Will it discolor fabric surfaces?
That's another really good question. So it is a chlorine compound, as bleach would be, but unlike bleach, because of neutral pH, you don't have the issues of bleaching or discoloration. With that said, there is a difference between color fast and non-color fast fabrics. So that's where you want to make sure that if you don't know what you have, just do a really quick spot test and figure that out. In most commercial areas or commercial facilities like a gym, hospitals in particular, because you're under code, most of the stuff that you have in those places are commercial grade and will be color fast. I'm sorry, non-color fast, so you don't have that issue. We've seen some issues like that in some nursing homes, because a lot of them bring their own furniture and own, you know, rugs or things like that. They might have a silk rug and something like that. That's where we're saying, you know, do a spot test just to make sure it's not discoloring it. You know, do that first and go from there.
Terrific. And we've got such a broad range of folks on this meeting with different size facilities, some, you know, 3,000 square feet, some in the hundreds of thousands of square feet, counting their court space. So one question that arose is, how long after it is mixed is the Pure Tab product usable? Is it still effective?
So once you mixed it, it's still good for 3 days.
Terrific. Yeah, I think that was a great question because folks are trying to decide in what areas they're going to put it. That kind of ends our curated questions. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Trevor, would you be able to pull up the chat and see if we have any other questions that have popped up?
Sure thing. We have question about supply chain. As businesses begin to open, how confident are you that the supply will meet the demand?
Oh,
I'm
boy.
I'm sorry to be laughing, Mike. Do you want to cover your ears on this one?
This is the question of the day. I can tell you that.
Definitely the question of the day. No, and it's a really valid question. As you guys know, we've been working with Chad for a few years. COVID-19 completely put our business upside down. When we started getting orders in January after, and actually I was in China in the beginning of January, so we knew what we were getting, what could be coming, but we had no idea how many orders we were going to be getting. So the demand right now far exceeds what we have in terms of people coming in. But what we've done, and to be very careful, is to continue to align ourselves with our strategic partners, the partners that we've had for a number of years. What we didn't want to do is take on all of these additional new partners to the detriment of our partners that have been with us for so long we were startups. So when we started and they trusted us, we want to pay you back and make sure that we're continuing that relationship and providing you with allocations and things like that. So working with Precor, that's what we've done. We have allocations for their needs, and we're going to continue to do that.
Very good. And so another question from the chat log. How quickly does the mist dry? I know that'd be kind of a coverage question. Any comments to that?
Nope, that's a good question. So we're typically getting, that's why it goes back to that 4 minute. Our nozzle is designed to getting in like that 5 minute dwell time. And if you're in a hot environment, and I'm saying this because I've done so many demos in Arizona, and little did I realize that it's just crazy hot. So depending on your environment, if you might need to spray it twice just to make sure you get the dwell time. And that's something that we, as you guys are doing some of the trainings, and we get videos over to you guys on trainings and stuff like that. We do have modules for all of this stuff. You'll very quickly be able to see how that works, because you'll be able to see it on the surface. But in your typical environment, where you're getting you have AC and it's not too dry or too hot, you're gonna get that 5 minute time that you need.
Excellent. And then I think we've just got one more question that we haven't already touched on. So it says, it's kind of a specific about a protocol that they're working on for their fitness facility. They're considering having workout windows and then completely closing each hour and wiping down the equipment. Would you recommend taking time to spray the equipment each hour, or is that overkill? Should it be sprayed maybe every 3 hours? And so basically, I think just kind of, do you have a recommendation on a protocol for a fitness space that's in high use?
I do, and there's a reason for the protocol that I'm going to tell you, because everyone right now is thinking the more we do, the better. And it might be the case with some products. One of the things that we do have with Pure Tabs and Pure One, and I'm going to be very clear, this is not on the EPA label because the EPA doesn't test for this, but we have an independent testing for this. Our product continues, once it's on the surface, to kill or have a residual for 24 hours. So for you to do it on an hourly basis, it's going to be too much. Obviously, people are going to want to see you doing it at an increased frequency. So if you want to do it in a 3 hour window or a 4 hour window, that would be ideal, or even twice a day, midday, or that's what we would recommend, but not on an hourly basis. That's just way too much.
Excellent. And then I would just throw one question on that I would like a little further clarification on, and that's mainly the difference between the Pure Tab and the Pure One, why the Pure One can't be used in the sprayers, and just kind of the big picture differences between those two tablets.
Absolutely. So the Pure One has a soap component to it. So if you were actually to use it on a sprayer, you get a lot of bubbles and a lot of streaking. So you'd have to do a lot of cleanup afterwards. So it really wasn't designed to be used with the sprayers. But the reason why we brought on the Pure One line is as we were writing our processes and compliance, we really understood that there wasn't any consolidation of chemistries within chemical closets. So we were seeing people use, a different cleaner, and then which might not be compatible in terms of chemistry with Pure Tabs. And we wanted to reduce the issues with, especially if you have a cleaner disinfectant in a hospital, we wanted to reduce the issue, any type of error that you could have in the process, whether it's a different dwell time, chemical mixing or interactions. So Pure One and Pure Tabs both are the same exact chemistry, both have the same exact dwell times, and both have the same exact kill claims. So now instead of using any other cleaner out there and having to figure out what it is that you need for instructions for that, it was really to simplify the process and consolidate it. So it's a single chemistry solution for all of your needs. So again, Pure One has the soap and surfactant, so it's a really effective cleaner, but most importantly, it has the biofilm registration claim to kill bacteria and biofilm, and Pure Tabs does not. So that's really the main difference between the two.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, look at that. We're at 11:51 and we wanted to keep this under an hour. I think we've got all the questions answered. I want to thank Flavia and Mike for joining us. I want to thank all the attendees for joining us. We have recorded this. If you would like to have an edited version of this, we're happy to send it out. Just send an email request back over to the invitation that you received. And if there's anything that CFE Services can do to help your facility, please don't hesitate to let us know. We really appreciate everybody's time today, and stay well and do something fun today, please.
Thank you all for having Mike and I. We're so excited for the continued partnership, and please feel free to reach out to us too. If you get any more questions, we're happy to help.
Yeah, Chad, feel free, if they don't already have my contact info, please feel free to pass that along. I do see a couple of additional questions here on the group chat. I'll be happy to address any of those with anybody that has further questions or concerns.
Yeah, feel free. Do you want to answer those real quick for those that want to stay on?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I do see one of them here talking about how long do you evaporate? I think we talked about that, 10 minutes max. And the question here, do we have a tablet that we drop into the tank, fill it with hot water and let dilute? Yeah, that's really all there is to it. I think Flavia touched on this before. You just drop the appropriate tablet in there, let it dissolve. It'll dissolve like an Alka-Seltzer. You don't need to shake it or mix it or anything like that. Just let it go for about 2 minutes before you put the tank on there. So the great thing about the system, it's very minimal as far as training goes. You can get your team up and running on this thing in a very short amount of time. No one needs to be a chemist. Nobody needs to eyeball bleach or as you're trying to mix anything. And then as Flavia mentioned before too, at the end of the day, there's no waste left behind. If you buy a tub of 200 tablets, you're going to get to use all 200 tablets because it is good for 3 days after you're done. So really minimizes waste, and also from a chemical standpoint, it saves you money in the long term too, because you're not paying to ship a 9-pound gallon of water across the country, which is exactly what I was doing in my last job. Oftentimes charging people more for shipping than I was charging for the darn product. So there's a lot of other side benefits to the system as well. And the other question that I see here that kind of jumped out was how proprietary is the equipment? Does it disinfectant products on the market? One thing that we do emphasize with folks is we do only want you to run Pure Tabs through our sprayers. We have run into situations right now. Obviously everyone's having supply chain issues, and we've run into folks that are running other products through the sprayers. And we just, where we're coming from here is we don't want to be held liable for any, potentially negative interactions that might occur between different chemicals. When you use the Pure Tabs, we know exactly what you're getting at the different dilutions. We have all the EPA certifications for all 50 states. Everything has been thoroughly vetted, thoroughly documented, thoroughly tested with proven repeatable results. You start throwing random chemical through there, you don't know what you're getting into. So we do want to emphasize that we sell ours as a system. Please consider the Pure Tabs to be married to the sprayer and vice versa, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's terrific advice. Well, thanks again, everybody. I appreciate the time. Feel free to email us with any questions. And if you would like a copy of this presentation to share with other folks in the industry or other staff members. Have a good day, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.